Are our churches playing make-believe when it comes to courage? That's the topic of this video. Hey everyone, welcome back to Be Like Christ. I can't tell you how many times I have been in a Sunday morning, Sunday evening worship service, and a preacher has gotten up and said something like, today's sermon is not going to be popular. It's on a controversial issue, and it's going to take a lot of courage for me to preach this lesson because I know there's a lot of people out there that disagree with me. And so he preaches his sermon, and then maybe an elder gets up after the service and says, we're thankful to have a preacher who's so bold and so courageous to teach controversial messages. And I guess my question is, are we just playing pretend when it comes to courage? Because the reality is that when that man gets up and preaches, he knows the audience that he's prepared that lesson for. And in most churches, 95 to 99% of people who are sitting in the pews in that auditorium, in that building, already agree with what the preacher was going to say. And that preacher almost certainly knew that when he was going to preach those words, he would be standing among a majority of people that were in alignment with his view. That's mostly because, face it, most of our churches are not swarmed with unbelievers, right? On a typical Sunday morning, the majority of people are already believers, and we're not drawing non-believers in hordes or people that would be hostile to those messages in large numbers into those four walls. Yes, we invite people like that to come into our buildings, but the reality is that most of them don't come, and yet there's almost this pretend that we are preaching to them when we're delivering this message, and that there's going to be people who are really against what we have to say. And I find that a little bit ironic because we know where to find people that are hostile to God's message. And the answer is we can find those people anywhere except in the church building. We can go almost anywhere in our culture and find people who are going to take us up on an issue or disagree with us on something. One place where we hardly ever find them is in our church buildings. And yet we put on this courageous face to almost pretend like they're there. And I wonder if that's in some ways leading us to water down the definition of what real courage looks like. When you look at the courage of the apostles and the people in the New Testament church, they were out of their buildings reaching people where they knew people needed to be reached. And I think there's a danger to that because as the culture has become more hostile to the Christian message, a lot of churches and Christians are kind of pulling inside of their own four walls, right? They're practicing their Christianity within their church building, their box, and not taking it out into the community as much. And I think there's a danger in redefining courage to mean something that's done within those church building walls and make us feel like we're being really courageous without ever having to engage with someone who would spur on genuine courage. And I would hate to see the church genuinely believe that our responsibility to reach the lost begins and ends at a pulpit and the back wall of our church building. And don't get me wrong, as somebody who's done some preaching in the past, I know it takes courage to preach anything from a pulpit. But if we're going to talk about the full-bodied, mature courage of people that we see in the New Testament, we've got to encourage something that extends outside of the walls and that's actually going to reach the people that sometimes we're just pretending we're reaching. Thanks everybody for watching the video. If you have not subscribed to the channel, do that and hit that little bell notification that's going to notify you every time a new video comes out. Remember, comment, like, share with your friends, and also subscribe to our website, 2BeLikeChrist.com. If you haven't already, get on the email list for the upcoming book that's coming out for how to understand and how to read the Bible. All right, I will see you guys in the next video. Until then, bye.